A long, long time ago, there was a big problem. It was a problem so big that many people were scared and did not know what to do. This problem was a giant, not just a normal person, but a very tall, very strong giant. His name was Goliath. Goliath was so big and so strong that he made the ground shake when he walked. He wore heavy armor made of metal. He had a big sword and a huge spear. His voice was loud and scary. Every day he shouted to the people of Israel, "Who will fight me? Who is brave enough to fight me?" But no one was brave enough. The people of Israel were afraid. The soldiers of Israel looked at Goliath and felt weak. Goliath was a giant, and they were small men. They did not want to fight him because they thought they would lose and get hurt. The army of Israel stayed in their camp, scared and quiet. Across the valley, on the other side, were the people of the Philistines. Goliath was their champion. The Philistines were enemies of Israel. They came to fight and take land. Goliath's job was to scare the Israelite army. He wanted to fight and win easily so that the Philistines could win the war. Every morning and every evening, Goliath came out and shouted, "Choose a man to fight me. If your man wins, we will be your servants. But if I win, you will be our servants." The Israelite king and soldiers did not know what to do. They were stuck. No one wanted to fight the giant. In the Israelite camp, there was a young boy named David. David was the youngest son in his family. He was not a soldier, but a shepherd. He took care of his father's sheep. David was small, but he was brave and kind. He loved his family and trusted God very much. One day, David's father sent him to the camp to bring food to his older brothers. His brothers were soldiers in the Israelite army. David arrived just as Goliath was shouting his challenge. David listened carefully. He saw the fear in the eyes of the Israelite soldiers. David asked, "Who is that big man? Why is everyone afraid of him?" The soldiers told David about Goliath. They said he was a giant and very strong. No one could beat him. David was surprised. He said, "Why is this giant so proud? Does he not know that God will help us? I will fight him." The soldiers laughed. They said, "You are just a boy. You cannot fight a giant. You do not have a sword or armor. You are not a soldier." But David was not afraid. He said, "I have fought lions and bears to protect my sheep. God helped me then. God will help me now." David was sure God would give him strength. David went to King Saul, the leader of Israel. He told the king, "Let me fight the giant. I will win with God's help." King Saul was surprised. He said, "You are young and small. How can you fight such a giant?" David told the king about how he protected his sheep from wild animals. He said, "God helped me then. God will help me now." King Saul looked at David's face. He saw David's faith and courage. The king gave David permission to fight Goliath. David did not wear heavy armor like the soldiers. He said, "I cannot fight with armor. It is too heavy, and I am not used to it." Instead, David took his sling and 5 smooth stones from a nearby stream. He walked to meet Goliath. Goliath saw David and laughed. He said, "Are you the man who will fight me? You look like a child. I am a warrior, and you are just a boy." David smiled and said, "You come with sword and spear, but I come with the power of God. Today you will see." After David defeated Goliath, everyone was very happy. The soldiers of Israel shouted and danced. The people felt strong again. They saw that even a small boy could win if God was with him. David became famous in the camp. The king and his soldiers respected him a lot. David did not feel proud or boast. He knew it was God's power that helped him. He thanked God for giving him courage and strength. Many people came to talk with David. They wanted to know how he was so brave. David's older brothers were proud too. They said, "Our little brother is very special. He is brave and strong." But not everyone was happy. Some people were jealous. They did not like that a young boy was getting so much attention. King Saul wanted to make David a soldier in his army. He gave David a new job to fight for Israel. David was happy. He knew he must keep trusting God. He practiced every day with his sling and stones. He wanted to be ready for any battle. One day, the king gave David a new gift, a harp. The harp was a beautiful music. It made David sad, but he never stopped trusting God. David had to be careful. He could not always stay in the palace. Sometimes he went away to quiet places to think and pray. He asked God to protect him and guide him. While David was away, the king sent soldiers to find him. But David was clever. He hid in caves and forests. He stayed safe with the help of his friends. Even when things were hard, David stayed good and kind. He never hurt anyone first. He believed that God would protect him and make everything right. David's courage and faith grew stronger. He learned to be patient and trust God's plan. One day, David's chance came again. The enemy attacked the Israelites, and David was called to help fight. He fought bravely and led the soldiers. The people saw that David was not just a good boy, but a great leader. The king saw this and felt many things inside. He was proud, but also scared that David was becoming more loved than him. Jonathan, the king's son, helped David stay safe. He warned David about the king's plans. Their friendship became even stronger. David knew that one day he would be king, but only if God wanted it. For now, he stayed humble and faithful. He kept working hard and learning to be a good leader. David prayed every day. He asked God to help him be wise and strong. He thanked God for saving him from the giant and from danger many times. David's story was just beginning. He had many adventures ahead, but his heart was full of hope and trust in God. The people of Israel needed a leader like David, brave, kind, and faithful. David was ready to serve his people and his God. After David's big victory over Goliath and his many brave acts in battle, he became very famous. The people loved him and sang songs about him. But King Saul became more and more afraid. The king thought, "David is getting stronger and more popular. Soon the people might want David to be king instead of me." King Saul's heart was full of jealousy and worry. Instead of being happy for David, he started to see David as a danger. He wanted to stop David before he could take the throne. The king's fear turned into anger. One day, while David was playing music for the king, Saul suddenly threw a spear at him. David quickly moved away, and the spear missed. David was shocked and scared. He realized the king wanted to hurt him. David told his friends about what happened. He knew he could no longer stay close to the king. David had to run away to be safe. He left the palace quietly and went into the wilderness. David was alone, but he trusted God. He prayed every day and asked for protection. David knew that God had a plan for him, even if things looked hard. The king sent many soldiers to find David and bring him back. David had to hide in deep caves and forests. Sometimes he stayed with people who were kind and helped him. David's life changed a lot. He was no longer a prince or a soldier. He was a runner and a hiding man. It was difficult, but David kept his faith strong. While David was hiding, many people joined him. They believed in him and wanted to follow him. Soon, David had a small group of men who helped him stay safe. They were brave and loyal. David was not just a fighter. He was a good leader. He cared for his friends and always tried to do what was right. He shared food with them and made sure everyone was safe. Even in the wilderness, David thought about the future. He dreamed of a day when he would be king and help his people live in peace. One day, David had a chance to hurt King Saul. Saul came into a cave where David and his men were hiding. David's men said, "Now is your chance. You can kill the king." But David did not want to hurt Saul. He said, "No, the king is God's chosen one. I will not touch him." David quietly cut off a piece of Saul's robe to show that he could have hurt him, but chose not to. Later, David called out to Saul and showed him the piece of the robe. David said, "Why do you chase me? I am not your enemy. Look, I could have hurt you, but I did not." Saul was surprised and moved. He saw that David was honest and kind. Saul said, "You are better than I thought, David. You will be king one day." David and Saul did not become friends again, but Saul stopped chasing David for a while. David continued to live in the wilderness, waiting for God's time. David wrote many songs during this time. He sang about God's love and protection. He wrote about his sadness, hope, and trust. These songs helped him stay strong. Even though life was hard, David never gave up. He believed that God was always with him, guiding his steps. David's story teaches us that sometimes life is difficult. We may face fear and danger, but if we trust God and stay true, we can be strong like David. David's journey was not over yet. There were more battles to fight, more friends to meet, and more lessons to learn. The small shepherd boy had grown into a brave man. His heart was ready for the future, and his faith was unbreakable. David becomes a leader. After many days of running and hiding, David's small group of friends grew larger. More people came to join him because they believed in his strength and goodness. These were not just soldiers. They were people who needed a leader to protect and guide them. David became their leader. He did not rule with fear or anger. He cared for everyone. He shared food with his men and helped them when they were tired or sad. David was a leader who listened and loved his people. David and his men stayed in the hills and caves. They had to be careful because King Saul's soldiers were still looking for them. Sometimes they moved quickly to escape danger. Even in hard times, David trusted God. He prayed often, asking for help and wisdom. David knew that to be a good leader, he must listen to God and do what was right. One day, David heard that Saul was chasing him again. David and his men ran to the wilderness near a big river called the Jordan. The land was rough and wild, but David knew how to survive there. David was clever and brave. He made plans to keep his men safe and healthy. He sent some men to get food and water. He gave each person a job. David was a strong and smart leader. King Saul's soldiers came close, but David and his men were ready. They hid in the hills and used the trees and rocks to stay out of sight. David wanted peace. He did not want to fight the king or his people. But if the enemy came close, David and his men were ready to protect themselves. One day, David's friend Jonathan came to visit him. Jonathan was the son of King Saul and still loved David very much. Jonathan brought good news and helped David feel hopeful. Jonathan said, "My father may be angry now, but he will see that you are the true leader God chose." Jonathan told David to be patient and strong. He promised to help David when he could. David and Jonathan's friendship was very special. Even though the king wanted to hurt David, Jonathan stayed loyal to him. Their friendship gave David courage to keep going. David also met other leaders who liked him. Some helped him by giving food and safe places to rest. David made many friends during this time. One day, David's men told him, after many years of running, hiding, and leading his people, David's time to become king finally came. God had a plan for David all along. Even though David faced many hard times, he never gave up and always trusted God. King Saul had passed away, and the people of Israel wanted a good king to lead them. They remembered David's courage, kindness, and faith. The people chose David to be their king. David was humble. He did not think he was better than others. He knew that God had helped him every step of the way. David thanked God for his help and promised to be a good king. As king, David worked hard to bring peace to Israel. He wanted his people to live safely and happily. David listened to the people and tried to make fair decisions. He helped the poor and cared for the weak. David also loved God very much. He built a special place to worship God. He wrote many songs and prayers to thank God for his love and protection. Even though David was king, he remembered the lessons he learned while hiding and running. He knew that being strong meant being kind and trusting God. One of the most important things David did as king was to teach his people about God. He told them to love God and to be good to each other. David's kingdom became strong and peaceful. People from other lands respected Israel because David was a wise and fair leader. But David never forgot how God helped him when he was just a small boy. He knew that without God, he could not have won the battle against the giant or become king. David's story is one of courage, faith, and hope. It shows us that no matter how small or weak we may feel, we can do great things if we trust God. David's life reminds us to be brave when we face challenges, to be kind to others, and to always believe that God is with us. The story of David and Goliath is not just about a big fight. It is about a young boy who believed in God and became a great king because of his faith and courage. David's journey teaches us to never give up and to always do what is right, even when it is hard. And so, David's story ends with a happy heart, a strong faith, and a kingdom full of hope.